When you start out Master Duel for the first time, you are left to your own devices as to what kind of deck you want to make. Sure, you could use the starter decks you were given, although you really shouldn't.
Girl!
It's way more fun to construct your own deck. But which one to go with? There are thousands, if not millions, of different archetypes or combinations to go with. And sadly, it can be pretty daunting. You could accidentally wind up with a weak deck where you end up getting frustrated, crying, and then giving up. Or you get a strong deck where you don't know how it works, end up screwing up, crying, and then giving up. Or go with a deck purely based on nostalgia where, okay, you get the idea. So to help out new players, I decided to make a list of 5 really good decks for new players or returning players who haven't played in a while. Now bear in mind, these might not be the best decks in the game, just one's great for new players, taking into account several factors like cost of entry, learning curve, effectiveness, and later upgrades. I'll also put links to some builds in the description. With that said, let's begin. Alright, first we have the Fluffals. Don't let their cute appearance fool you. Fluffals are a brutal deck capable of really beating down your opponent. I'm dead serious. Yu-Gi-Oh! Veterans will really like this deck, as it's a slower paced deck with no real overly complicated gimmickry. Just a lot of really good fusion monsters and monsters capable of getting the ingredients for them. From Fright for Cruel Whale being able to give it or another Fluffal monster a power up at any point in the duel, to Fright for Kraken who can attack twice or destroy a card on the field in exchange for not attacking directly that turn, and so many more. But what else is cool about them is that they have a ton of upgradability down the line, which makes them great for getting to Platinum. You can use 2 Cruel Whales to bring out the true King of Calamities, use the Water Monsters to bring out Totally Awesome, and many more. Definitely well worth a look. And again, they're killer plush toys like it was a 90s Cabbage Patch Kids toy. What's not to love?
About 50,000 of the dolls were sold nationwide since the fall of 19...
Next up is one I've talked about before, the Dragonmaids. Their structure deck being ready for purchase makes them insanely easy to obtain, and you get an archetype that's not only easy to grasp, but fun to use. With some great spell and trap support, and an amazing boss monster with Dragonmaid Xiao, who can negate any effect by being shuffled back into the extra deck, and then bringing out House Dragonmaid, you can do some serious damage with this deck. I have a more in-depth video on these guys, so definitely take a look. I'll put a link to that video in the description. But regardless of which build you go for, put Laundry Dragonmaid in your deck. Do it! The Marincess archetype has no ultra rare cards as of writing. The Marincess archetype has no ultra rare cards as of writing. That's all you need to know about why I recommend this deck. Now in all seriousness, Marincess are another aggro beatdown deck, but they have some other things going for them. For one, they can equip other Marincess Link monsters in the graveyard to them, giving them huge attack point boosts. They are also insanely easy to use in getting to high level Link monsters, and they have a brutal trap card with Marincess Wave, which can not only negate a monster's effect, but protect your Marincess monsters from your opponent's effects. And if you have a Link 3 Marincess monster out, it can be activated from the hand. Also, they have no URs at the moment. Now, of course, they have more support planned, so maybe they'll get an ultra rare down the line. But honestly, I'd still recommend this deck for the ease of use, power behind it, and the fact there are no ultra rare. Sky Strikers for a while were one of the most used decks in the game, and for good reason. They have a lot going for them. Once again, they are insanely cheap with only 3 UR Sky Striker cards you really need, which is nice. They have some of the best spell support in the game, with everything ranging from destruction, to searching and drawing, to banishing, and to negating, to controlling. And of course, being Sky Strikers, they can easily reuse some of the spells that have already been used, and depending on how many spells are in the graveyard, their effects might just perk up more. They're also great for Yu-Gi-Oh! Veterans, given their slower paced nature mixed it with their power, so definitely take a look. Also play it right, and Widow Anchor can steal 2 of your opponent's monsters, which is just ridiculously unfair, but I love it. And finally, at number 1, we have not only the best deck in my mind for new players, but one of the best decks overall with Prank Kids. Prank Kids couldn't be a simpler gimmick. Use them to link summon Prank Kids monsters, which then give you a different Prank Kid from your deck to utilize in either more link summoning or some rather devious techniques. That's already pretty easy to grasp, but the Prank Kids can be used in just the right way to protect their effects activations from cards that can negate them, such as Ash Blossom. And they also have access to one hell of a boss monster with Battle Butler, who can sacrifice itself at any time to destroy all your opponent's monsters on the field. Unless you have Prank Kids meow, 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 in your graveyard, which in that case, you don't sacrifice him and he can use his effect again. Boom! But while this deck is really good on its own, it's been getting a lot of mileage lately thanks to its compatibility with both Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer and the Adventure Engine. Old Dippy can be brought out easy using the Prank Kids on the field, and the Adventure Engine doesn't clash with your normal summoned Prank Kid as their effect activates in the graveyard. So did you hear that? You get a card that can not only negate anything, but a card that can destroy anything on the field at any given time. Insane! Oh, and the cherry on top of all this? Not including the ingredients for the Adventure Engine and the DPE engine, the Prank Kits themselves are insanely cheap, with only one UR in there with Battle Butler, a card you only need one of. This deck is one of the most used in the game right now, and for good reason. Just get to it before Konami eventually does. So there we go. Those are 5 great decks for new players, and for returning players too. But trust me, this isn't all of them. There are plenty of others out there that I highly recommend, and maybe I'll make a video about them some other time. But these are the 5 I've seen people get the most mileage out of. But what about you? Let me know in the comments if you've used these decks before and tell me what your experience was, or if you have a recommendation for a deck for new players. Thank you for watching, please subscribe, and have a beautiful day. Oh, and by the way, please don't go for heroes if you're a new player. Your wallet will thank me later.